Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know it looks like it's going to be a pretty hairy night. It looks very gray out there. So thank you for out there. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making it out tonight to the Shenandoah Council Position Number 2 candidate debate. I want to thank the participants, David Teague and Ted Fletcher, for agreeing to this forum. I think it's important for all residents, both present and those viewing on YouTube, to hear what their positions are and about the state of Shenandoah and what their future plans are. So I think that's very important. I want to thank Community Impact as well for agreeing to moderate this event as they have in the past, and they've done a great job at it. So that's why we welcome you. Thank you, Vanessa Holt. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa, who will be the principal moderator who will do the introductions. Vanessa.
Can you all hear me okay? Yes. Great. For the audience, of course, please turn off your cell phones or set them to vibrate, and we will...
I'm not sure your mic is right.
Yeah. It's on.
It's on?
Speak up, that's all.
I have to get used to it. Okay, there. Now it sounds like a microphone. We'll ask the audience to remain seated and not to make any comments during the forum. There will be an opportunity to write your questions on a card, which we'll collect after our main portion here, and we'll select as many as we can fit in through the end of the forum, which will end at 8 o'clock. And we would also say any disruptions will be dealt with by the officers in attendance. Thank you for being here. And hope everyone enjoys the forum and has a great night. My name is Vanessa Holt, and this is the Meet the Candidate Forum for Shenandoah's May 6th election. There's one contested race in Shenandoah this year. That's for position 2. And I would like to thank the city of Shenandoah for hosting this candidate forum, as well as the candidates for participating. So I will introduce them now, and in the order we have them listed, and they can take their seats, and we can move along with the introductions. We have David Teague, who is seeking the position, and Ted Fletcher, who is the incumbent. And if you both wish to be seated. We will have several segments here. The first will be 3 minutes for each candidate for their opening statement. And then I have 6 questions prepared. They'll have 2 minutes for each question, each candidate, and 1 minute for a rebuttal for each. And then after we get through all the questions, we'll have a closing statement. We'll alternate who answers each question first. We had, I believe, the drawing order was Mr. Teague first, and then for the second question, Mr. Fletcher, and so on. Throughout this, Jessica will be keeping time in the back, and she will hold up a time card at the 30-second mark, the 15-second mark, and a stop card. So please be attentive so that we don't have a buzzer here. So I need you to be attentive because I'm not sure, I don't want to be rude. And we can start the introductions in just a moment. So we will start with Mr. Teague. So please introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes to describe your position.
Y'all hear me? Cameras are on, so be aware. Thanks to the community impact and the city for hosting such a great forum. For residents, my name is David Teague. My wife Jean and I have been proud residents of Shenandoah for 32 plus years. You may recognize my dog Larry. We like to meet their pet parents and families at the city park. In my free time, when I have free time, which not much of it, I enjoy attending Bible study, golfing, and pickleball, woodworking, traveling, fishing, and testing new recipes on my smokers. So if you see them on, don't call the fire department. I began my career as an operations manager for a major retail lumberyard when I was younger. I'm currently a project manager in the commercial construction industry. I lead a team of experts in our field. I can understand scopes, budgets, timelines, schedules, and people. In June, I was one of the 16 applicants for council appointment. Council encouraged applicants to run in 2023 since the current two-position councilman would not be running for a fourth term, as promised. I listened to my elected officials offering Shenandoah a choice. So I believe in term limits, and when promises are not kept by those in office, they could lose trust and respect. You may notice I intentionally shortened the campaign this season by myself, starting April the 1st. We didn't want any bitterment out of our community. Past elections, seasons were filled with strife, and they just create too much chaos. So this is not a best candidate. I'm one of two choices to provide voters an option. I would keep my promises, listen and work well with others, and I would not belittle people with different views. In fact, I'm not afraid of different views. I invite them. I believe all Shenandoah residents deserve to have a diversity of opinions, ideas, and representation without fear of intimidation from passive-aggressive influencers either working, living, or representing our city. I'm not tolerating this behavior, and neither should you. Choose David. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ted Fletcher. First, I want to thank all of you for coming out and providing support for your candidate. I would like to thank the City of Shenandoah for putting this together and as we do every year, to allow our residents to become more informed in the process and the choices that we have. And of course, community impact for helping moderate the event tonight. It's been an honor and a privilege to represent Shenandoah as your city councilman for the last 6 years. My wife and I, Ritzy, have been married for 31 years. We have 5 amazing kids and 2 incredible grandchildren that just rock our world. That's where we spend, who we spend our time with. It's about our family. And, you know, next to my relationship with Jesus, it comes back to my family, and they're the ones that really have the greatest influence in who I am and who I've become. As I say, it's truly been an honor over the last 6 years to be able to serve our residents and our staff and our city, our businesses as councilman. When I took office, there were so many challenges facing the city, such as excessive employee turnover, wasteful spending, frivolous lawsuits, large car allowances, executive bonuses, the golden parachute deal, not to mention an overall lack of oversight, accountability, and transparency. In just 6 short years, we've transitioned Shenandoah into a better and stronger community. With your support, I would like to continue to use my proven track record of experience to apply sound business principles of governance to position Shenandoah to be stronger than ever in the future. I've decided to run for another term specifically because the job's not finished yet. We had a big slowdown with COVID, and it slowed down not only because obviously our city had closure, but the county had closure, the state had closure, and the Fed had closure. We're right in the middle of many large projects, and we have many to complete over the next couple of years. During the next 2 to 3 years, Shenandoah is scheduled to add about 2,000 new neighbors to our community. As we reach a build-out status, we need to stay focused on strategic plans for growth and development, mobility, public safety, and fiscal responsibility to make sure that we continue to fund our police department to fight crime and keep crime out of our neighborhoods, to continue to keep our taxes and water rates low,
We've
and
reached
develop
time.
our home rule charter.
Thank you so much. Thank you both so much. We will go to the question portion now. And from the drawing order, I'll start with Mr. Teague for the first question, Mr. Fletcher for the second question, and so on. So my first question for tonight is, how can Shenandoah compete with neighboring areas to attract tourism to the area? Mr. Teague, you have 2 minutes.
Compete with neighboring areas to bring in tourism. Well, I've lost count of hotels. We've got plenty of hotels if we want to compete with tourism. Our CVB going to bring in about 1.7 million this year. And so we can use that to bring in more people if we so choose to bring in more people. It's not all about the revenue. We've got the revenue. We've got more than the revenue we need. We don't need to run other people's businesses, I believe. So I'm not in the competition with the Woodlands, with Woodlands and Conroe. They're going to grow, they're going to get bigger, and they're going to spread out. And then the roads are going to come, and we're going to have more competition, and we are going to have residual business off of that anyway. And then we'll have more infrastructure we'll need to build, and then we'll need to have more police, and then we'll start back over again as infrastructure starts to wane, and we're in this big vicious cycle. And it's always, we think we have to grow, we have to compete, because that's what we do. And I'm here to voice an opinion about that. I'm here for the quality of life. That's why I came here 30 years ago. I knew it was going to grow, but we don't have to compete with anybody. We're Shenandoah, and we're going to survive just like we want to. Not what they say, what we say. Done. She stopped.
Thank you. Mr. Fletcher, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
So competition's important because it does create opportunity. And that's what Shenandoah is about. It's always been about opportunity. We're going to grow. However, if we don't engage in that growth, if we don't build the right relationships and we don't move forward with that growth, we're going to get left behind. And it's not a matter of getting left behind. We're going to get ran over. And if we don't get involved in building the roads and maintaining the roads and expanding the way that we need to expand, then what's going to end up happening is our quality of life is going to be horrendous, because we're going to get ran over not having relationships with the Woodlands, not having a relationship with the county, and then we're going to see flyovers get built that we've stopped on several occasions. And that's what we don't want. So I totally disagree. We need to engage quickly and continue that engagement as we've already started.
Thank you. And now I'll have Mr. Fletcher answer the question and Mr. Teague rebut that question as well. So how can Shenandoah compete with neighboring areas to attract tourism to the area?
To me?
That's for Mr. Fletcher, and then you'll rebut his answer.
I thought I'd get a rebuttal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
So that was the question
That was
he
his
originally
question.
had.
That was
right?
our question.
I'm sorry.
And then I rebutted the question. So is there another question?
Oh, so we'll move on to the next
Yeah,
question.
that's
I
all
apologize.
That's all right. It always gets confusing, even though you've done it before.
Yes, yes. We will move on to question number 2. Question number 2 is for Mr. Fletcher to start with. And that is, how do you think Shenandoah should approach potentially becoming a home rule city?
That's a great question. So this is critically important for us as we continue to grow in determining, one, when that time's appropriate. And there's a couple of things there that we have to look at. One, the state does give us some perimeters in which we work within. That magic number is somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000 residents. And the reason it's important that we want to engage in that process and have our home rule charter committee started is so that we can begin to lay that groundwork as we turn over 5,000 residents. We can begin to have our own rules as a city. Right now, as a home rule city, as a general law city, we're governed by the state. And so the state tells us basically how we can operate and what we do, and basically the ordinances that we could set. So as a home rule city, we'll be able to, again, create our own rules for the city of Shenandoah moving forward. And that's critically, in my belief, is critically important, that we choose the right people to be on that home rule committee, and that there's the right governance process with that committee, and moving the city forward to have the opportunities ahead of us. So I know that in the past, we've had a home rule charter committee that started, and then that home rule charter committee was dissolved. And the reason it was dissolved is because it was way too early to start that process. And that process would have been gravely challenged, and all that time would have been wasted. So that timing of the home rule city or home rule charter is critical, and it's right between that 4,500 to 5,000 range.
And your rebuttal, Mr. Teague.
Yeah, thank you. So, home rule, love it or hate it, it's a possibility. Right now, we're at, I don't know, I can't ever find the right number, but we're at 3,000, some, I don't know. So, we have, to get to 5,000, we need 2,000 to do the math. And right now, those 2,000 people aren't here, and they're going to decide if you want a home rule city. So think about that. So structure's set up for people that are in office right now, and they're probably going to want, if you're in council right now, you're probably going to want a home rule city because you can pick what you want. But remember, if you vote for it, you have a choice, yes or no. And the charter committee is a great idea, obviously. We've been trying it before, but let's see what it says, because that's what y'all want. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3, we'll start with Mr. Teague. And that question is, how should Shenandoah use excess revenue when it exceeds the amount it budgets for in a fiscal year?
I lost you.
You want me to repeat it? How should Shenandoah use excess revenue when it exceeds the amount it budgets for in a fiscal year?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not in the know. I don't have a staff to help me find all the fine-tuned answers. But I do know when you got more than you make, you need to do something with it. So, you've got debt that you can pay down. I know water and sewer and all these rules that states create, you can't use this for that, so you got to get creative. I know the police force, everybody don't like to bring out the police in these type of meetings, but they do a great job, and I'm ready to give them some more money if they need it, and they can tell me what they want, because I know I want, from my experiences, I can use that. I hope they can use that money wisely right now, not wait 3 or 4 years. So we live in a city that's a revenue generator, and you got expenses, but you always seem to follow the expenses and the revenue. So do we need all that money and expenses and start? We don't have to cut, but we need to quit relying on what we're always going to have revenue. So what do we need? Line item budgeting. Everybody says that, but I'm talking real line item budgeting from true zero. So that's what I believe. We spent $1.2 million for those residents already a few years ago for TACUS, and we didn't even really notice it in the budget. So we paid cash for a park. So we've got them cash, and obviously when you can get a loan or pay cash and interest, so look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Fletcher, you have 1 minute.
So evidently you've never attended a budget workshop, because we do start at a 0 line item. And we work up from there. That's the purpose of having a 0 line item budget, is so that you can cut year over year expenses that shouldn't be there. Paying down the debt's important. Unfortunately, the debt that we have are all bonds, and so it's not like you can make an extra car payment on a bond and an extra bond payment and it lower the debt. It's not possible to do. Funding the police department is critical. And I believe that everything that our police department has asked for, in fact, I know everything our police department has asked for, they've received. There isn't one budget item that they have asked for that we haven't provided. They do a phenomenal job. And I think the biggest thing that we could do with the additional funds is reinvest back into our greatest asset, which is our staff. And that's crucial right now, is reinvesting in our staff, primarily because it's difficult to recruit staff and it's difficult to keep staff.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Mr. Fletcher. What new or additional amenities would the city benefit from that it can provide or attract to the area?
That's a great question. One of the things that we've planned for over the last couple of years is continue to improve our parks, continue to improve our walkways. And so as we continue in building the city and we look at our entertainment district that's forming here across the freeway, to be able to support that with walk pathways and additional amenities such as a dog park and other parks for our residents to be able to utilize. It's the best use of our green space back for our community, is giving them that opportunity to use what we have and then continue to build that. We have a great park amenity that's taking place right now at Vision Park. It's going to be phenomenal when it's done, with pathways, bridges, water feature. There's even going to be a memorial there for our veterans that will integrate into the water in some way and as well. And so our ability to continue to provide and listen to our residents and provide the services that they want is critical. in moving forward. I think for us to be able to add additional services for our residents, we currently do free trash, but I think there's other things that we can integrate in that as we continue to increase with revenues. Obviously we can't give the funds directly back to our residents, but there are additional amenities that we can provide them. And one of the thoughts with that is funding the Civic Club greater for events and festivals, to be able to make those events bigger than what they are, so our residents can come in and utilize our parks and walkways.
Now we have a 1-minute rebuttal from Mr. Teague.
Could you repeat?
I can repeat the question. That was, what new or additional amenities would the city benefit from that it can provide or attract to the area?
Well, as I mentioned in the meeting a few weeks back, that we're having a 50-year jubilee, and I don't want just to go to the city hall over here and have a party. I want to use that money, CVB money, we got $5 million we haven't spent, and throw a party that nobody's ever seen before. So we could have some fun, everybody can just kick back and enjoy it and not make it so stiff-necked. Just relax and do it and spend the money. It's not wisely, but it's something we've earned after 50 years. And it'll also bring in revenue and so forth if you plan it right. Parks, we've got great parks. I want pickleball, more pickleball courts, because we're starting to get backed up. Of course, the dog park, but I'm not wanting it in a neighbor's area where the smell affects them. So I'm up, stop, so, sorry.
Thank you. And Mr. Teague will start for the next question. With major projects like the David Memorial Drive extension underway, what is the next transportation challenge Shenandoah must plan for?
Well, the next, it never stops. It'll relieve, and then it'll get caught up because we're expanding, Conroe, everybody's expanding, so it's going to go away soon. That'll also add more outlets for crime to come in. Can't help that. Freeways, like he said and I've said, that freeway's coming. It's not going to come today or tomorrow, but it's coming. It's going to affect how we. I'm not letting it happen. So y'all can't. If y'all want it, I'm not. Because double decker, and it's not going to take a week. It's going to take. Your child will be from kindergarten to high school before it's done. Obviously, the 242 overpass is going to alleviate some traffic, and that's also going to cause traffic as it's being built. Should have been built first. It shouldn't have, the Woodland side shouldn't have got it because all the traffic goes that way. So that's the problem. We've also got transportation. We're building more hotels and multi-story living apartments, and they all say they got a plan, but I haven't seen the traffic go down yet. So.
Thank you very much. And we have, and Mr. Fletcher, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you have a minute for the rebuttal.
Thank you. So you're right, we haven't seen the traffic go down yet because none of the projects have been built. So David Memorial will relieve a lot of traffic going up to 242, and yes, the overpass on 242 going to eastbound will help that process as well. What we haven't seen is the expansion that'll take place over here on Research Forest and the 45 feeder road. That's going to expand and alleviate traffic. You have to remember that not only is the city of Shenandoah pretty much grown out of space, the Woodlands has too. And so when we look at doing projects like an apartment building that we saw over here on Six Pines in comparison to an office building, and you look at the traffic study between the two, the best thing for us to do is what we did, and that's approve the apartments there. There'll be a relief that will come, that will be on the 45 feeder, there will be a southbound turn lane that will be a merging lane, and my time's up.
Thank you so much. Great. Well, from my prepared questions, I have one more, and then we will turn to the audience to gather some. So if you have not received a blank card, please see Debbie for one. And if you haven't filled it out, please take a moment to do so, and we will shortly take a moment to prepare some additional questions from the audience. So Mr. Fletcher, we'll start off this question. And this will take me a moment to say, so let me know if you need me to repeat it. How do you believe the city can work with residents in areas within the extraterritorial jurisdiction, such as Tamina, to ensure communication on topics such as the planned water and sewer extension?
You want to say that one more time?
How do you believe the city can work with residents in areas within the extraterritorial jurisdiction, such as Tamina, to ensure communication on topics such as the planned water and sewer extension?
So that's a good question, because effective communication plays a critical role in government. And there's things that you can provide, and there's things that we do on a regular basis, and that gets information out regularly, such as our newsletters that come out, our website. We redesign our entire website to be more effective in providing information, as well as set up to where you can even communicate back through it. With the project in specific with Tamina and our ETJ and the water and sewer plan, one of the things that we have already started and have already met with was a group of community leaders. The contract was awarded here the day after. It was awarded on a Wednesday, and on Thursday we had our first meeting. It was an open meeting. Community leaders from Tamina were invited. We've had other meetings since then to be able to communicate effectively with Tamina. In fact, one of the things that we asked for with our engineering group was that they would identify a group of community leaders in Tamina that we can keep information flowing to on a regular basis. And they've identified 7 different churches there and community leaders that we can effectively supply and provide information to, as well as have those open meetings. They're on Thursday mornings with them. And so they have a great amount of information going their way, and we're able to keep them up to date on the project regularly, not just through our website, but also directly with the engineer group. They hired a liaison specifically for that.
And a 1-minute rebuttal. Do you need me to repeat the question?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you believe the city can work with residents in areas within the extraterritorial jurisdiction, such as Tamina, to ensure communication on topics such as the planned water and sewer extension?
Well, I was at the planning and zoning meeting a few months ago when a lot of residents from Tamina were there, and they looked confused, and they weren't happy about how the information was presented. They didn't even, they spent we spent a couple hours in there trying to explain, And I've been in this area for 40 years. I have people that I know in Tamina, and I know what they're talking about. And worst thing is, I'm here from the government, and I'm here to help you. And they will need some real communication. And I know some people that are helping that communication right now. I only got a minute, so.
Thank you both so much for your responses. So we'll take about 10 minutes now to review your questions, or if you haven't filled it out, take another moment, and we'll reconvene shortly in about 10 minutes, I'd say. Stretch your legs, listen to the thunder outside, and we will resume with some more questions up until about 7:45, and then we will close things out. Thank you.
Whatever.
If everyone could begin to find their way to their seats, we're coming up on about 7:20. Thank you, everyone, for the questions.
You did know that we went to different schools together.
I appreciate everyone filling out your questions. I'll get to as many as I can. I'm going to, I may rephrase for clarity, and we have a couple that are on very similar topics that I will combine, but I think that way we can get through as many as possible in the next 20, 25 minutes. So we will pick up where we left off, and the last sequence began with Mr. Fletcher, so we'll start with Mr. Teague. And again, we have 2 minutes, and then we'll do a 1-minute rebuttal. So our first audience question, I'm going to combine two that were on the same topic to say, what is your view on crime in the local and larger county region, and what would you do to address crime?
Well, I'm kind of familiar with that personally. I'm sure a lot of people know. Back in a couple months ago, we got robbed in the middle of the daylight, and it opens up your eyes. And when you get motivated or mad, you want to do something, and you say, what have I not done? And what I'd like to start is a real community crime watch. Not just talk about it, just do it. People in all neighborhoods. It doesn't have to be involved with the police. We're all individuals. We should be able to take care of ourselves when the police aren't around. So we've got technology, blink phones, the doorbell thing, cameras, and we want to share that with the neighbors so they know. I know also that some of the people I've talked to, they don't feel safe as they used to. The car, from speeders to the parks, there was one ladies that did not feel safe walking down the parkways at night. Yes, you need to take care of yourself, but that's what the community is here for. We love the police, and we're not blaming anybody. We don't have a police problem. We have a crime problem, I believe. And then town halls that will help bring in the public to talk about crime and what can we do to make it, for all of us to fight it. Thank you.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Sure thing. And this is, what is your view on crime in the local and larger county region, and what would you do to address crime?
So crime obviously is increasing, especially in our commercial districts. And obviously, the whole time that I've been a councilman, I've been a big proponent of adding policing. And we've added many officers to our police department. And I think that it's important that we continue to do the same, to continue to add more officers for policing. Crime is going to continue on the feeder roads as there's more growth going north. It's imminent. Our biggest focus has to continue to be fighting crime in our neighborhoods. And our police department has done a phenomenal job doing that. We've had one burglary per year in our neighborhood. Unfortunately, it happened to be Mr. Teague's home this year. But our police department's done a great job in patrolling that. And if you guys hear either one of us stop like mid-sentence, it's because our time's up. So it's not that we're just stopping and that's it. We probably have more to say, but, you know, Debbie's doing jumping jacks in the back, so.
It's the fast minute, it's not a slow.
It is a fast minute, it is.
We have special
goes quick.
minutes, yes. And we won't count this towards, towards it either. And everyone be safe when you leave. It sounds pretty nasty out there. I believe that we start with Mr. Fletcher now for the next question. And this is very straightforward. What is the first thing that you will address if elected?
That's a good question. There's many things on the table right now as we speak. Mobility is obviously a big part of that. There's many plans for mobility, and at this point, all of those projects are now funded. So the biggest thing that we have to do, again, is continue to move those projects forward and get them completed. Mobility is probably the biggest, the most important driver right now, because that's what's going to free up traffic and allow us to get in and out of Shenandoah in a safe manner. So I would say that probably will continue to be the top priority for me, is making sure that we stay on our mobility. We've all seen relief on Grogan's with the help of Charlie Riley and our commissioner in 2. And so what he's started right there is what we're going to see happen on the southbound feeder off of Research. There'll be a continuation lane. We're going to widen Research Forest. We're going to open up David Memorial. If you haven't been to David Memorial, you need to drive to the end. You're going to see how everything's grubbed out. You're going to see all the way down to 242 and exactly where that road's going to go. We're going to see the expansion of Tamina and the David Memorial Tamina area as well. But mobility is probably going to be the number one. Number 2 will be obviously continuing to support our police department, attracting new staff, attracting new officers, as well as attracting new staff members into the city so we can accomplish the things that need to be done.
Thank you. And Mr. Teague, what would you do? What is the first thing you would address if elected?
Well, I would address crime, because that's what I'm passionate about right now. Crime is crime, whether you place it in any part of the city. If you... Oh, I'm sorry. Crime is crime, wherever it's at. I don't really keep track of where the difference is, but all I know is I'm going to get with the police chief and make sure that I understand what he has planned. And like I said before, I'm ready to change now. If we've got the extra funds, well, let's see what we can do in the short term. Maybe we don't need to wait another year of budgeting. Let's do it now. Minute's up.
Thank you. Mr. Teague, you'll start for the next question. And how do you feel your business experience will help with your council position when it comes to economic development?
My business experience?
If you have, I'm reading from the card, but assuming you each have business experience.
I got lost. Ask that question, please, again.
How do you feel your business experience will help you with your council position when it comes to economic development?
Economic development. Well, we've got a lot of economic development. I know how to balance a budget, and I know we have 60, this isn't all set in stone, but we have like $68 million planned for the next 10 years. That is supposed to help the economic development, but I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of infrastructure being planned, and if we keep voting like we are, then these are gonna probably happen, and I don't know what to do about it. I do know that I would take it one step at a time, and we need to slow down, because no matter how you call debt, it's still debt. And we need to be able to have that buffer where we can slow down and not be so involved in growing and building. Because that day's going to happen again like it has in the past, and we need to be prepared. I know that the, economic development is what it's called. I don't know what, I'm not up to economic development anymore. I'm just like, we're going to make a lot of money with what we have now, and we can't spend it all. And I know what the right answer is, but I have to say stop.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Fletcher, a 1-minute rebuttal, please.
Would you mind repeating the question? I kind of got lost there.
The question is, how do you feel your business experience will help you with your council position when it comes to economic development?
So I've been fortunate in my career to be able to be involved in staffing, budgets, to be involved in businesses growth, as well as economic downfalls and having to lay people off and go through all those things. So economic development for our city is critical. We can't wait around and slow things down, because we're going to get pushed right over the top of what's already here and what's already coming. We have to get ahead of it. We have to plan for it. We have to have strategic plans, and the 60-some projects that we're referring to, or is being referred to in our comprehensive or in our capital improvement plans for the next 10 years, they're not all cast in stone, no. But if we don't take the time to plan for that infrastructure, we're going to lose all the economic opportunities that are going to come our way.
Thank you. And this will be the next question Mr. Fletcher will start. What can Convention and Visitors Bureau funds be used for, do you think?
That's a great question. So CVB funds have one purpose, and they're very limited funds as to what they can be used for. And it's strictly for putting heads in beds in our hotels. The CVB funds, regardless of how much is there, has to be used for that purpose. We can't go have a flamboyant party for ourselves utilizing CVB funds, because we as a city will end up paying all of those funds back when the state comes in and says you inappropriately used these funds. So they can only be used for bringing tourists into our city for heads and beds. Yes, there are some other uses that it can be used for. They're trying to expand some of those uses. It could be used for sporting events, utilizing a sporting event to bring heads in beds or to bring people into our hotel districts, but that's what it's designed to do. I know I have some time left, so I'm going to step back and talk a little bit about a rebuttal that I didn't have time to finish. So I agree with Mr. T. Crime is crime. But I would rather have our crime in our commercial district than in our neighborhoods. And our police departments focus in our neighborhoods on patrols regularly to keep crime out of our city neighborhoods. So I do agree, crime is crime. I don't want anybody to feel afraid in our community, walking down our streets. And we do need to fund anything reasonable with our police department. I think everything that they've come to ask us for has been funded, number one. Number two, I think also that, if the police has an immediate need, they're going to immediately bring that to council so we could talk about it. There haven't been any immediate needs brought up other than we need to continue to recruit officers effectively. And so they're coming up with ways to recruit those officers effectively. And my time's up.
Thank you. And Mr. Teague, for your rebuttal, and the question was, what can Convention and Visitors Bureau funds be used for?
Well, I believe we can still throw a party. You just have to use your imagination. 8 billion people in this world, we can figure it out. The CVB funds, I mean, we're just going to keep kicking a dead horse because we make a lot of money. But what are we going to spend it on? Beds and heads. Okay? So we're just going to keep 1,800 days of CVB funds in the bank. And those are tax dollars. I don't care who paid them. Another thing before on the economic development is, well, I guess I don't have enough time, but let's hold on to it. Never mind.
Thank you. And I'm going to, we have 2 similar questions, so I'm going to combine these in the interest of time. And I'll start with Mr. Teague. Would you describe yourself as for or against growth and development in the area? And how would you plan for the city's growth?
Growth and development, I'm for. What is growth and development? Parks, more parks, buffer zones. And of course, now we're going to build more infrastructure so we can have an ETJ and take that area over. But I think we could use some of that area that's around here for more for us. Okay? I mean, I'm a citizen. I live here, and I want people to come here and visit and spend money, but I'm ready for not just parks. I'm ready for more. I don't want the big conglomerate where we're just have no trees anymore. That's really where we're going. It's gonna happen. People are gonna move, and I'm not involved with any of the big investors in this area, real estate moguls. I don't talk to them, and I don't even know who they are. I'm just worried about our citizens that live here now, and the ones that do live on the east side that will be looking for a quality of life, and will still need police protection, and will need places to relax. So we're not just an east-west city, we're one city, both sides. And the people in the ETJs, they have a voice too. So I had already brought up about giving a person in the ETJ a seat on the MDD, so they should have a voice. So we have our MDD, we got 2 city council members on it, and we have a former city council that's in charge. Let's diversify. Thank you.
Thank you. And do you want me to repeat that?
Please.
Would you describe yourself as for or against growth and development in the area? And how will you plan for the city's growth?
So obviously, I'm for growth. I'm for planning. I'm for getting ahead of the growth so we can control it as it comes through our city. I'll use the rest of my time more in rebuttals. So I'll talk about the ETJ. So first off, nobody's taking over the ETJ. There was laws or rules that were passed through the Texas Senate here probably 4 or 6 years ago that prohibited cities from annexing your ETJ. So if somebody wants to come into the city and be annexed, they have to ask to do that. So we're not taking over anything. The water and sewer project, we were asked actually to do that. We didn't go press our way in. There was a vote that was done in Tamina that agreed this was the best possible solution for them. And the county approached us and asked us to get involved. And we fortunately had planned well enough with our sewer plant and water plants that we were able to provide those services. And my time's up.
Thank you. I think I have time for 2 more questions before we do the final statements, so I will try to get these in here. The next question will start with Mr. Fletcher. And what would your plan be to alleviate congestion on Vision Park?
That's a good question. So Vision Park is difficult from a lot of standards. First off, before I became on council, if you look at what the original thoroughfare plan was, Vision Park was designed to be a 4-lane through Vision Park and create a 4-lane down Grogan's Mill. That is absolutely the worst possible idea we could have kept in play in making a 4-lane down Grogan's Mill for our residents. It would truly be a thoroughfare, and if you think we have speeders in our neighborhood, you have no idea how that would work down Grogan's Mill. So that's problem number 1. So because we were able to stop that and keep Grogan's Mill as a 2-lane, there's going to be congestion that's going to happen on Vision Park. I think there's some solutions that we can go about to slow down that use of Vision Park. I think one of the things that we could do is make, part of the problem is getting in and out of Vision Park. If you go to see a doctor or a physician and then come back out to the feeder road to head southbound, it's difficult to get back out because of all the traffic. So one of the things that we could do is work with our county commissioners to put in a mandatory right turn lane on Vision Park. That way it relieves traffic coming out of Vision Park so we can pursue a safe turn out of Vision Park. The other thing that we can do to alleviate some of the congestion on Vision Park is to, and my time's up again, sorry.
And Mr. Teague, how would you address the congestion on Vision Park?
Well, I'm not a math major, but I do realize what a funnel is, and you can't put more in the funnel, no matter how wide you make it. And we've kind of built ourselves in a circle right now. I know that, if you look at the freeway, because I drive this crazy freeway every day through Houston, from here around Belmont, and I look at the TxDOT, and they got 45 going south, and then they throw a Exxon entrance over there to you, and then they go to 99, and you got like 30 seconds to go over there, and everybody's coming on, and that backs all the way up to our neighborhood. And then you also got people coming around from 242, which they were wanting to widen. What are they going to do? Just throw everybody to 45 and let us fight about it? That's not going to work. I don't really have a great answer. I know you're going to have to slow them down somehow, but
Thank you.
that's what we're dealing with right now. what are we going to do?
Thank you
Stop.
both. I have one more question before we go to your closing statements in a few minutes. And we'll start with Mr. Teague on this one. What has been your contribution to the city and the community?
My contribution, I've lived here for 32 years, raised 3 kids that stayed out of trouble most of the time. And I've been in the community for 32 years. We worked on spent plenty of time at the pool, swim meets, helping neighbors. We didn't really put it on Facebook. We just helped when they called. I mean, I'm not really one that's going to say, I did this and I did that. I do help my community and I help other communities. When we had the flood, I don't know how many floods and hurricanes we've had, we've gone and helped clean houses and other areas where the people were really hit bad. We're lucky in Shenandoah, we really haven't had major problems. But you go to River Plantation, it wasn't fun. And that's why you should never move to an area that has a name, a river or a lake. It's gonna flood. And I'm always available, and I've helped our Army at our church. So I don't really I don't know what else to say I've done. But we're all citizens, and we all vote, I hope, and we contribute to this great country and this great city, and that's what we need. You don't have to be a hero. You just need to do your job, stay out of trouble, and help others.
And Mr. Fletcher, what do you feel has been your contribution to the city and the community?
So I'm proud to be able to have served the last 6 years and the things that have been accomplished over that period of time. And there's a lot of things that I could talk about, and obviously will not have time. I'd direct you, if you want to know what those accomplishments really are, is to go to my website at ted4council.com and go to accomplishments, and you can see everything that's been done that we've been a part of. But to answer that question very specifically, probably the biggest thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that we created child safety zones in our city. And if you haven't heard of what the child safety zones do, a child safety zone prohibits a sex predator from living within 1,000 feet of a child safety zone. And that was something that I worked on hard to get. I still get letters and voicemails from people that are opposed and become very belligerent. But that is probably the greatest contribution, or not probably, but is the greatest contribution that I feel that I've made to the city, is to eliminate sex predators from being able to live here anymore.
Thank you to the audience for all of your questions. We never quite have enough time for everything, but I tried to combine some to maximize that. So I appreciate that from everyone. We will give the candidates an opportunity to summarize and give their closing remarks or any other comments they wanted to make. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for this. There's not a rebuttal for this portion. They will simply have 2 minutes to speak, and then we'll have some closing remarks, and everyone can mingle and close out the evening. We, in the rotation, we are back, we're on Mr. Fletcher, so you will have 2 minutes to share your closing remarks.
So again, it's truly been an honor and a pleasure to be able to serve as your councilman for the last 6 years. And I'm asking for your support for the next 2. We're not finished. There's a lot of work that we have to do, and we have to stay focused on that. We can't slow down. We can't decide that maybe this will work or maybe that'll work. We have to know what's going to work. We have to come to the table with solutions. We have to come to the table with relationships and experience to complete what's right at our footsteps right now to make Shenandoah stronger than ever. So I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking for your support. I know this is going to be a low turnout vote, so I'm asking you to take the time to early vote, get your friends to early vote, get the vote out, and get people involved in our community. The greatest voice that you have is that vote, and every vote in Shenandoah counts. Not one gets left behind. Every vote in Shenandoah makes a difference. So make your vote count. Vote for Ted on May 6th, I'm sorry. Early voting starts the 24th through May 2nd. And by the way, early voting this year is not at the library. Okay, early voting this year is up at the Emergency Training Center on the 45 feeder, just past CVS Distribution Center. So make sure that your friends, and your friends know, otherwise you're going to be disappointed if you go over to the library to vote because nobody's going to be there. So again, thank you again for the opportunity to serve the last 6 years. I look forward to serving you during the next 2.
Mr. Teague, you have 2 minutes to share your closing remarks.
Before I close, I just wanted to bring up something. I know we have a resident that had a issue with his home business, and basically because of the way the codes or IDC is written, he's been forced to probably shut that business down. And I know this was, I talked to him in that meeting a while back, and I found out some information that I think could help him, because the way the IDC is written, this is not fact. I mean, this is not like, this is what I've been told. So we could have pulled the home business amendment out of the IDC for now. And in this situation, we could create, like we kind of talked about this when I was there at the last meeting, we could call it a residential overlay district, and he could come before council, and we could give him a special amendment or I forgot what you call that. He can come forward and have it voted on, basically. That's what I was told, and I think, let's hope we can do that, but his time's running out. So that's something he can do. I'm also like to appreciate everybody here, the community impacts in City in Shenandoah. It's been a great place, but tonight is really about you guys. Regardless of where crime is in our city, still crime is crime. The position 2 council is open. The councilman that's there was going to run 3 terms, and he's not. So we got a race to run. I will always keep my promises, always, and I appreciate all your opinions and your
We're out of time.
representation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate everyone's participation, and Election Day will be May 6th. And please make sure you know where to go for your local races. And here are your candidates. Thank you so much to everyone for your participation. Drive safely.